And welcome to another episode of Inside CKP. I'm your host, Jeremy Como, and today we have a returning guest, Mr. Mike Jack Stoumbos. Mike, remind me how to say your last name right because I want to say it
No, you're
right.
saying it right. Stoumbos. Yep.
All right,
Two
Stoumbos.
long vowels, the oo and the o.
All right, just making sure. Now, before we get into things, let's go ahead and pay the bills to why we're all here. Um, For all your book literary needs, go to chriskennedypublishing.com for military sci-fi fantasy, space opera, little did I say fantasy? Fantasy. They've got some nonfiction in there, some urban fantasy. You name it, they've got it. They've even got a little sprinkling, smattering, if you will, of romance. And go check that out on chriskennedypublishing.com. Also, and I say it every episode, sign up for the newsletter. You get cool free stuff. And not only that, you can become a pre-reader, have the chance to become a pre-reader. It's not guaranteed. Um, if you want to support this show and Chris Kennedy Publishing, go to their Patreon. You get free stuff. Well, not free stuff there, but you get cool stuff there. They do the CKP Confidential and other nice giveaways. Those are produced by our good buddy Shark Flight Media, Ian Malone. And of course, you can catch everything from the website, but you can also find them on Amazon. But just go to the website; it's more fun. Um, and then, of course, you can get it news on the CKP Facebook, and then the shenanigans happen on the factory floor, which is the fan page. And there is also the 4HU. Since we're talking about 4HU book today, there is a 4HU fan page on Facebook as well. I just don't happen to have that particular Facebook group up here. Then, of course, you can find us here on the CKP YouTube channel. All right, now that the bills are paid, Mike, welcome again. This is the second coming for you.
Yep.
Thanks for coming. You were one of my first guests. I very much appreciate that. I think you were like the first couple episodes actually, and
Yeah.
so welcome back. And so before we get into things, let's where can people find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me is mikejackstoumbos.com. Um, Usually the difficulty for people is spelling the last name. But if you look for Mike Jack Stoumbos, or if you look for The Signal Out of Space or any of the This Fine Crew books, that will eventually direct you to a lot of places to find me. So yeah, mikejackstoumbos.com, or my Amazon page, and you can find everything that I have out right now through either of those.
Okay, and if they want to um, communicate with you or interact with you, do you have any other like socials and stuff like that you want to draw them to?
Yeah, so I've also got a Facebook page. So that is the Mike Jack Stoumbos author page. If you search for Mike Jack Stoumbos on Facebook, unless we already have like a mutual friend for the personal page, you're going to find the author page.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you're connected through CKP, we'll probably have mutuals. But anyway, that's the author page there. Then I've also got a Twitter. That one is MJ Stoumbos at Twitter. Um, and then otherwise, through my website, if you go to mikejackstoumbos.com and you want to sign up for the newsletter, that is, a bunch of places that say contact or newsletter or so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. But also it says free story because when you sign up, hey, go figure, there's a free story to pull some people in there. And I do usually twice a month on the newsletter. Um, so that's a good way to find out about what's going on, the different projects, through CKP and then through other kinds of publishers, and then also things that I'm, I guess, conventions and conferences that I'm showing up at,
Mm-hmm.
groups that I'm teaching through. So yeah, there's a little bit of a yes and to all of the different places that I'll be. And this
Awesome.
is Lutra the parrot. I did not introduce Lutra earlier. This is a live parrot on my shoulder for anyone who's wondering.
I wasn't gonna let it go.
Yeah, I mean, eventually she'll move enough, or she'll squawk or something. We'll find
Yeah.
out. If she does scream in my ear, I will briefly pop off camera and throw her back at her cage. She does fly. Throwing her at her cage is not actually a hardship for her.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, But yes, Lucha the Parrot joins me for a lot of these ones, and assuming that she's reasonably well behaved, she'll probably be here through the whole time.
Well, it's between you and Rob Howe. Rob always has his Doctor Evil Cat with him on camera, and you have your parrot. I'm guessing like a Fantasy Island vibe here.
Oh yeah. Some of my students have said that they should start calling me Captain Stoumbos whenever I'm wearing the parrot, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you no.
Oh, yeah, it is done. Thank you. All right. It is decided.
Yep.
All right. No, at first, I'm glad you brought it up because at first I didn't know if it was real or not. Then I saw it and was, oh, that's a real bird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on. Like I said, you're a return guest, but it's been a while. It's been almost a year, not quite. So welcome back. The first time you came on was to promote your series.
Yep.
This Fine Crew. Now, you have more books than this out right now, right?
Yes, there's a fourth novel in this series that was released last October. And that's The Impossible Moon. And since the last time we talked, we've also had it translated into German and then started 30th. So in a couple weeks, the first book is also going to drop in French. So we're getting more international, not interstellar yet, but we're getting a lot more international with this Fine Crew.
We're working on it.
Yeah, and book 5 is in the works. My hope is to get book 5 out, by this fall, so that we're going like about a year for each separate installment while I'm working on other projects in between. So book 5, The Forever Song. I'll hope to hand that in to the editors in the next couple months, and then hopefully we'll get it on track to get it out by this fall. And if there are delays and you want to find out more, you can also join the newsletter again, and I'll let you know when I know and when it's getting turned in.
So now, the first time I met you, you were brand new to CKP, and the first time you were on the show, you had the 3 books out, but you were brand new to CKP. Now you're kind of an old hat. You've been here a while. Have you enjoyed the ride?
Oh yeah, no, it's been great. The first time that we met, I think would be at FactoryCon, like a year before this last October. So we're here at like 18 months from initial meeting. And that first time, there are a few people who commented that myself and my wife Morgan seemed like we were very, very quiet, just like sitting in the back and watching. We're not always quiet people, but like when I'm in a new place, I will just like sit and watch and be like, all right, what are the norms?
Yeah, you have to. You have to learn.
Yeah, I'm less of that. I'm less in that mode by now.
Yeah.
So, and the last year has also been really good for being able to get into like conventions and conferences and have opportunities to get around a lot of other authors, people who are in CKP or who are like otherwise connected through various overlap groups. Pretty much anywhere that's within like a 4-hour drive from North Carolina, there's a lot of overlap in the different communities. So it's been great getting to know people, so that by the time I'm showing up at this last year's FactoryCon, so last October, it's like, cool, I know most of the people. I could just like hang out and chat and relax, and it was great.
Yeah, and not only that, this last FactoryCon, we had a boatload of new people there. It was you, the other Mike Wyatt was there. I don't think DT Reed was there. She might have been.
I don't think that she was at FactoryCon. Or then again, she might have been, but like, yeah, I know Diane through the so I know DT Reed through the Superstars Writing Seminars groups, Colorado Springs.
Yeah, that's what we get a lot of talent from that convention. So that's awesome. Yeah, but no, it's fun. It's fun to see how everything is growing, and like I said, all the conventions and all the people you get to meet. And for those who don't know, I'm gonna tell on you, Mike. Mike can sing his happy little ass off, and loves doing so at karaoke at conventions, and we've taken, and he's a good singer, so it's not bad.
There's some evidence of that on the YouTube channel.
On your go check that out.
Yep. I will note on the YouTube channel. So I'm still a teacher. I still work with teenagers and by extension their parents. So the public things on the YouTube channel are things that are pretty much going to be family appropriate.
Yeah,
So if there's a karaoke bit that involves like even any alcohol in the background, it's like, well, that's not going on the public page, and it's
yeah,
kind of silly, but like yeah, that's life. That's where I'm at right now. But there are still some karaoke moments that are showing up on my on my YouTube page.
that's awesome. Now tell, and we're gonna get to the reason why we're here, of course, but tell people your background, why you're a singer, and why you enjoy singing.
Yeah. Um, well, there are probably a few different answers for this.
Hmm.
The shortest and like most annoying version is just that I really like singing. Like I'm
Hmm.
somebody who, if I have an opportunity to engage with music in some form, I will. Um, I have had some amount of like music training. I played saxophone for a number of years. I've been part of musical theater groups. I have been a partner dance instructor, which is something that we usually sends out of left field, and people are like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I taught lift and dip forms
Oh,
for
really?
blues
I don't
dance."
think I
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah. Um, so like I'm somebody who loves music, and I also do not have the level of time and finances to be like, "Why, yes, I'm going to be the next Pavarotti." Um, but I can show up at karaoke. And I'm
Yes,
like,
you
that
come
just
strong
takes
at
a
karaoke.
small level of investment. I show up, I sing, um, I feel happy, I go home. And it's like, and that's kind of been great. So that's been the short version of that. But yeah, if I'm somebody where like if I know my role, if I know the environment, like I'm good to show up. I can speak, I can teach, I can sing. You want to make me act and make a fool of myself, I will. I mean, like I'm a ham. So I will just I'll do it. That's kind of part of the fun for me.
Do you still do theater and
Not
musical?
not at the moment. I mean, like, there's a part of me that would like to get back into it, but
Mhm.
schedule is the biggest difficulty because yeah, I mean, I started taking up partner dance because my college schedule did not allow for like every evening rehearsals.
Mhm.
Partner dance, I could show up or not show up.
Okay,
And just kind of learn swing dance and then eventually blues. Same
that's
with
awesome.
karaoke. I can show up or not show up. Uh,
Yeah. So, talking about conventions, what has been your favorite so far, or can you say that?
I'll go with it, and if I'm wrong, if I offend anyone, then I'll
No
be like,
wrong
well,
answer.
we'll see if it's better the next time. uh, but yeah, one of my favorites has been MarsCon.
Hmm.
So MarsCon I did for the second time this year. Keep in mind, most of the conventions like are really new to me for the last couple of years because almost everything that I wrote that's been published started during like the COVID shutdown. I didn't really start getting anything picked up until like you know 2020 2021. So
Hmm.
2022 was my year to show up at conventions. And MarsCon was my first one on this coast. Last year when it was in March in Williamsburg, and it ended up not staying at that hotel. But then this year when we came back and it was in Virginia Beach, Norfolk, right in that area. I
Hmm.
don't actually know which it was because everyone put the slash in between, so it must have been both.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there's not much delineation from the two.
yeah. But that was a great one. That felt like really the right size for me and like where I'm at right now. So like my books totally took up space on the table. People showed up. I talked to them about Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica, really any show with star in the title. This
Hmm.
fine crew was very was very easy to move when we talk about things with star in the title. Um, and it was fun. Like it wasn't one that burnt me out. I didn't feel like I lost my voice or got sick after it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I showed up, I hung out with people, I got to speak on panels, I sold books, I learned a lot of stuff. Like, one of the things I've been liking about conventions is I'll volunteer to moderate panels for things that I want to learn about,
Hmm.
so that I
Oh
can be
yeah.
like, I want to be the person who's asking the questions because these are legitimate questions that I'm trying to figure out. Um, so yeah. Oh, and Drew saying that the Mars Con is in Virginia Beach.
Oh
All
yeah.
right, nice, yeah.
Thanks,
Cool.
Drew.
That is good to know. But yeah, so I think that one was my favorite so far. But I've had a lot of good experience with the different conventions that I've done so far. There are a
Yeah.
couple that are on the list of like, okay, well, I'm not sure if that was like lucrative for me personally, so it's not a priority next year. But I haven't had any experiences that were bad enough where I'm like, no, absolutely not, never again, even if you paid me.
Yeah.
There are some that are on the list of like, if they pay for my hotel, I'll go.
Yes, yes. Well, and there's yes, because some of them are so big and expensive, you know.
Yep.
And speaking of MarsCon and Fantasy, shout out to the Lions family for arranging those.
Yeah.
Big kudos to them. Those are great conventions to go to. I just came back from Fantasy, and it's the only convention that I go to as a non-writer that I'm actually on one of the panels.
Oh, nice.
It's for the care and feeding of authors.
Yep.
So I get to go in and talk trash about my life
That's very
on a public forum.
Yeah. Yeah. The Morgan's been asked to join something like that for like, yeah.
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 Now it's fun because the crowd comes into play too because they ask interesting questions. It usually makes its way to the bedroom, but you know,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun. All right, so let's talk about why we're here, and that is you, sir, have had another book come out, and
Yep.
ta-da, here it is,
Ba-bum.
fresh off the presses today.
Yeah.
So give us your quick elevator pitch.
Yeah. The mini comp that I give people with this one is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress meets Seven Samurai with mechs. Because usually if I say that and people recognize one of those two titles, that's a good enough one to go with. But yeah, Defender's Rise is in the Four Horsemen universe. It's not necessarily part of any ongoing stories, so you can jump into this without having read any of the previous ones, so you don't necessarily need the prior knowledge. But set on a distant planet, the planet Haven, which was once prosperous but is now a battleship graveyard and has effectively become a labor camp where people are picking apart pieces of the ships and bringing them to a salvage mill that is controlling everything and basically controlling the only port off planet. And the main character, Rev, and El Shah, this would be, a couple foot tall gecko type species, who is a very clever engineer there who doesn't speak much. Bit of a loner, clever engineer. While running to escape some thugs, happens to find his way into an underground area that nobody's uncovered yet, and a cache that has some Caspers. Fun and games ensue from there. He is too small to effectively drive one of these things, but he's an engineer. He's going to figure out how to rig it. He doesn't have enough allies to be able to hide them effectively on his own or use them effectively on his own, so he's going to have to pull in more people. Things spiral out of control a little bit for him and his found friends, found family from there, but it ends up being a lot of fun. So yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of writing this one. It was
Now you came into CKP with Marisa loves the Elsha. Am I saying that right? Elsha?
I'm not sure. I always say Shaw, like it's the big thing, like El Shaw.
Yeah.
Lee Shaw and Sal Shaw and yeah.
So
I feel like I'm overpronouncing it. I might as well be like Teal'c from Stargate. Like we're going with the El Shaw today. Yeah.
Well, we're watching Star Trek and with Star Trek Picard and Worf's on there and everything's kind of over.
Yep.
So that sounds good.
Yeah.
And so you came into CKP with your own series,
Yep.
Which is a bit of a twist, although it's happening more lately because back in the day, people would come in and maybe write in someone else's universe or do a short story in someone else's universe, and then kind of get into their own thing. But you already had some of the books written. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I came in with this fine crew, when I first talked to Chris about it, I had two of them written. I was getting the notes from my early readers from sort of my critique group on book one, and was in the process of editing that, and I'd already finished the first draft of book two by the time I talked to Chris. And that was a connection through Maya Cleve, one of the editors.
She's great.
Yeah, and she and I had worked together on a couple of projects previously. She'd done some professional beta reading and sort of like the diagnostic beta read. What does this novel need for another project? And we were doing sort of pandemic Zoom calls. It was like, let's have co-working time, get together with other authors and editors and stuff, and just people in the industry, because it was a good way to connect. And I was talking about this series that I was writing, this fine crew that I was going to write as a trilogy, and I was planning on maybe briefly shopping it, but then self-pubbing it because I I wasn't really sure how to get my foot in the door, but I heard a lot of people were saying, hey, if you write at least a trilogy, get a rapid release set out there. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'll just pick something that's like, feels like a spin-off of Starfleet Academy where I get to dig into more of the alien perspectives. And so that was the inspiration for this fine crew. But I was talking about that on these calls, and I had the moment of like, I think that this is something that that Chris might get into. Um, and so, long story made a little bit shorter. There are a few conversations about some of the different novels and story ideas that I had. But yeah, so Chris was interested in this fine crew. We set a projected date for me turning in book 3, and based on that, we're able to set up a launch schedule for the initial trilogy. And that was how I got in. That's how I got started.
And now you're about to turn in book 5.
I can't say about to turn in. I have the last 2 months of conventions and producing another anthology that I'll talk about in a little bit. Definitely delayed more of the process than I would have liked on getting book 5 done. So yeah, I'm working on it. I've got the outline written, and I'm probably like 35,000 words into the piece. So it's gonna happen. It's just a question of like how soon I can get it done with the other pieces lined up.
Awesome. Now, what was a big difference between, other than the obvious, the big difference between writing your own universe and which is now going to be 5 books in, and a well-established universe that someone else created?
All right, so I will admit when the invitation was first raised, I was like, I'm seriously intimidated by this. There are way too many books for me to be able to read and figure out how to incorporate all of them. So, there were a couple people in the group, including Marisa, who were kind of talking through the direction that the universe was going. And, I'd read through the Universe Bible, and it's, the Universe Bible basically has the rules for the Four Horsemen Universe, the very big do's and don'ts. And it's it's a cool compendium, but also like there are so many species, there are so many different like what if pieces to fit together, and I was like, well, what if I get something seriously wrong and I need to rework the entire concept or the entire idea of it? So I actually asked Marisa to have like a brainstorming session, and I'd gone like on like a yellow legal pad of all things, and I wrote down a bunch of mini concepts of like the different kinds of things that I wanted to try to do or I thought would be fun to play with. And I got on the call with Marisa, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like throw things at you, and I'll see what sticks. I'll see what seems like a fun idea. And I started talking about the idea of having all of the little species that people don't pay attention to as warrior races. They're not actually any of the Merc Corps groups. They're outside of the guild, but they show up. So the Elshaw are usually the engineers, and then there were the Zupardi, who are like the little weasel characters who seem like they're scared of everything in the books that I've read whenever they show up, with some exceptions. And then the Opshaw, another uplift species. And so I was just like playing with some of these ideas, and I'm like, what if we have a group of those and give them an opportunity to try to like retrofit Caspers for them? And what if we put them in a position where they're like, well, we don't really have standing armies, but if we all kind of make a pact to defend each other, then we don't actually have to worry about any kind of like super expensive things to hire out. We don't have to worry about bullies coming in and taking stuff from us. So what if we just like form a little mini alliance? And when we got to talking about that, Maurice found the idea funny, and so I started sort of spinning out the concept of the Elshaw engineer salvager who finds these Caspers and is able to use them to sort of like build his own little alliance, build his own little like found family bit. And then it ended up being just like a really fun thing to journey with from there. So yeah, I wrote up the treatment, sent it to Chris, he approved it, and I started writing, and I figured that it was totally possible that when I turned it in, I would get some remarks of like, yeah, this thing is totally wrong, you can't do this in this universe, and then I would change it. So that was one of those things that I went in with. I'm like, I can't treat any kind of like treatments of species or settings or technology as super precious, because if they are, then I might be like, oh wait, no, I want to argue for this thing forever, and like, and it's not my universe, so that's not really the bit. But yeah, the editing process actually, ended up being. It ended up being really smooth and effective. At least it felt like it was on my end. If it didn't feel like it from the editors, my apologies. But thank you for but and there were a couple things that stood out in terms of like, hey, the species that you referred to, there's a tiny amount of them left. They wouldn't be on this planet. They wouldn't be able to be involved in this. I'm like, oh, cool. All right, what else do I switch it to? Yeah. So yeah, definitely some of the
There are
experience
rules.
factor, but having the team to be able to chat with was super helpful.
So, look, no, that's not the comment I wanted. The Depic for fans who know of the Hunter series, the little demon cats or alien killer assassin cats in a Casper would be menacing.
Yeah.
So could we expect to see more from you in the 4HU? Is that something you'd want to do?
I think so. This is one of those things that is probably a little bit further out in terms of placing it on the schedule. I would like to get more involved in the 4HU and or the salvage title universe through some co-writing. Like that's one of those things where I think it'd be really fun to have somebody else that I were working with, because like if I'm already playing in somebody else's sandbox, I would like to have a play buddy. I would like to have somebody come join me in here and like, instead of me trying to figure out how to construct the whole sandcastle by myself, let's get a collaborator. And so yeah, probably a little bit further down the line, but if there's one of the other writers through the CKP team, or a prospective 4HU writer who reads this one as like, I'm digging this style, I'm digging this idea, I want to work with this, then that's great. I will follow up on that.
All right, give them a call, guys.
Yep.
So, with that being said, have you ever co-written anything before?
I have not. I've done a lot of workshopping with other people. Actually, I should take a step back on that. I've done a lot of co-writing in the academic world, in the nonfiction world, and I've done some co-writing in the theater world. So I wrote for stage, prior to going for my master's in teaching and starting in that direction. So I did some co-writing and some collaborating there, and I've done some I'm gonna say it's like an extensive content editing style. It's kind of in the dramaturg, so like where you're basically helping someone rewrite and rearrange their scenes. So I have some experience with that, and then there's a buddy of mine who's been chatting about some like short story collaborations, and so we've tested a couple ideas out there. But in terms of writing a novel start to finish with someone, that is something that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, it's you're in the right publishing company to do that, because they co-write all the time. I mean, most of Marissa's novels have been she's co-written with other people, and she enjoys that. Do you think you would enjoy? No, you've already said that you would.
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I actually really enjoy like having a group of people who all has like sort of word count challenges together. I find that to be very helpful and motivating. And not like in a weird bitter competitive way, but in like a cool, these people are writing, I get to write too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's a fun competition.
Yep. Yeah.
And so Marissa and Chris wrote 2 novels in a month, I think, together, and it was because of that competitive nature. It's like, oh, I wrote 3,000 words today. So, oh, really? I did 5. Why don't you catch up? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But fun. And so if you ever get to write with Chris, strap in, man. It's going to be a ride.
I believe it.
But no, it's a good time. So before we go too far, let's tell people we're not going to do it now. We're going to do it a little bit later. We're going to do a giveaway, and we're going to set the rules for the giveaway. And do you want to set those rules, or do you want me to set them?
I will let you set those rules, because I'm kind of curious about your established rules here. So,
it's established is a strong word, but we're gonna. So the most, it's one of a couple things. Most interesting comment, funniest comment, or great questions. So whoever comes up with that, you tell them what they win.
Yeah. Cool. Sounds good. Well, I mean, so for one, we're going to be, the bird is fluffing. I've got little bits of feathers on my shoulder. For one thing, we're going to be doing a giveaway of
guidelines.
Yeah. And more guidelines.
More
Yeah.
guidelines.
I'm gonna be doing a giveaway of the book that's coming out today. So Defenders Rise. I'm gonna be getting a set of copies of those, and then I'll do a signed giveaway from there. But then also because we've got Murder Birds, the upcoming avian anthology for next week, then I'm gonna also want to add that one in there as one of the giveaways as well. So yeah. Do you usually do 2, 3? What's your number for these?
Oh well, it's dealer's choice. I'll do whatever you want, man.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, let's go with the 2. If I'm feeling super inspired, we might add in a third.
All right,
But yeah, so we'll do
awesome,
one of the upcoming Murder Birds anthology and one of the Defenders Rise signed copies. That one's going to be on slight delay because I need to get the sets in for that and then sign it.
awesome. So in addition to that, we are going to do a live read, and well, I say we. You're going to do a live read because nobody wants to hear from me. And what is that read going to be?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull a chapter from Defenders Rise, one of the early villain chapters because sometimes the villain monologues are just fun. Yeah.
It's when you cut loose, huh?
Sometimes I'm not sure if this is a cut loose chapter. Like
Oh,
later
okay.
on in the book, with spoilers, you get some good angry yelling monologues from like 6 foot tall upright tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was writing those ones, I posted a couple like vague book comments to the effect of like it feels like I'm writing Jeremy Irons meets Keith David in terms of voice, and somebody's like, "Wait, are you doing the audiobook for this?" I'm like, "No," but like, but that's what I'm hearing while I'm writing this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love a good rant. I love a good rant.
Mm.
So that sounds pretty good to me. So so what we'll do is we'll do the giveaway after the read. Give people time to either make snarky comments. We love
Mhm.
snarky comments on this show. Uh, Good questions about the book or actually good questions about anything, anything thoughtful questions, anything like that. So. Uh, uh, just kind of try and impress us in the comments. So if you've got questions, bring them on now and as we go, but we'll keep on talking here. Um, so remind me, the main character's name is
The main character is Rev.
Rev,
Rev
and
the Elshot.
if you had to describe Rev without giving too much away, how would you describe that character?
Yeah, so Rev is an Elshaw, or an Elsha, but I'm going to go with Elshaw. We're going to take that strong here. Yeah. So small, brown, splotchy gecko, um, who is very swift, very efficient, very matter of fact. When he first shows up in the story, he is referred to as Tiny. The larger foreman of the mill just refer to him as Tiny, and they're like, "We need somebody little to go in and fix this thing for us." And somebody says, "Fetch Tiny," and then this little Elshaw comes in to fix things for them. Um, yeah, it's uh, and and Rev as a character is very fun to write because he's he's straightforward to a fault. Um, he doesn't really care about any kind of blunt comments or questions. He's not really doing a lot of the social niceties. He's going to show up, he's going to fix the thing, and he's going to move on. And in the beginning of the story, he has this plan for just himself, solo venture, to escape this planet that's basically like a labor camp that he's stuck on. And well, things change. Things go wrong when he finds the ultimate golden ticket. It turns out to be a big heavy weight that he has to deal with. And there's a lot of time for the first third of the book was like, all right, how do I get around this? How do I sell this thing and get off planet? Okay, I can't sell this thing. How do I use this thing to fight something to get off planet? Okay, I can't fight it without bringing down the whole wrath of every. Okay, how do I? So it's yeah. He's a fun character to write.
And so I'm assuming shenanigans ensue.
There are definitely shenanigans. There are shenanigans about yeah.
So do you have any? Is there any part of you that you put into the story, or either into the main character or side characters or anything like that that you kind of just put a little bit of you in there or something like that?
I think it's impossible to escape like there's going to be some part of me or some part of like any author, I think, in stuff that they write, even if they try to get away from it. So I try to pick like little pieces of myself that I want to put into things instead of going like full me. There are times when I get way too analytical and way too like engineering brain about stuff. And sometimes being able to approach things in an overly analytical, too logical, mixing emotions way is amusing. So I try to dial into that for myself when I'm working on Rev, but I wouldn't say that he's necessarily like me. All told, there's an Opshaw character who is the closest thing to the teacher or mentor character in this story. His name's Rumil, and Rumil's probably the one that I would say is closest to me in terms of how he talks, how he thinks aloud about things, what kinds of things frustrate him when other people are just not doing what they're supposed to or not working for the greater good. And it's like, how are you doing this? If we all worked together, it would be better. Why are you trying to do this only for yourself? Not to say that I'm a saint or anything, but I've been a teacher long enough in group environments where I will sometimes go into monologues about like, why are you disrupting the class? This is completely shutting down everyone else. And, so that is the character that probably draws on me the most. And then one of the villain characters, the Pushtal, named Nalpak, who's kind of the main villain point of view that you get to see in this book. He is like this young, ambitious, hotshot character that I wouldn't say that I necessarily relate to, but he's the kind of guy that like, there's a part of me that always feels like I would want to be that if I were doing like, charge the corporate world, charge the corporate ladder, get to the top at all costs. And so there's a little bit of like projecting the ultimate ambition into this character.
That's awesome. So now, there are so many aliens already in the 4HU. Did you get to add any, or you just picked from the existing aliens?
I picked from the existing aliens with one exception. There was an insult that popped up among the Pushtal because I needed something for them to yell at each other. I needed something that really felt like the space opera shows that I know and love. So in one of the first like yelling matches that I wrote, one of them calls the other a skinned Sharvel, and a Sharvel became the new species for the big dumb brute that the Pushtal don't respect and consider to be a slobbering mangy mess. So I brought in a Sharvel.
What is a Sharvel? What is a Sharvel?
So Sharvel is a quadrupedal predatory mammal. So I kind of picture it as like a mangier wild boar that does not have any table manners, even though it might be sentient. So Sharvel came up.
like a humanoid body, or more like a four-legged thing?
More like a four-legged, yeah. So yeah.
And now, I think we've talked about at conventions. You like to visualize.
I do, yeah.
And you sometimes draw your characters out by hand. Did you do any of that for this book?
I did a little bit, and I'm gonna have to disappoint because I'm not gonna show any of those this time around. I did some rough sketches because I wanted to kind of get a feel for them, but I did not build out any kind of full character portraits. There's a part of me that thinks that I want to have a go at the mid-journey side of things that a lot of people have been doing very effectively for those character portraits. That seems cool and that seems fast. If I can learn the prompt process, then maybe I'll do that.
I've not played with it myself. I'm tempted to, but it seems like for someone who does not write, it seems like a big investment in time for me, where it's not necessarily going to go anywhere. But although I could use it for this, we'll see. But I've seen some of your drawings at I guess it was at Fantasy where I saw some of them. But those were for This Fine Crew.
This Fine Crew, yeah. Yep.
It's fun. So I'm reading comments here.
That's fair. I assume that in this case, MJ stands for a mid-journey, not for Mike Jack. But I can take it as Mike Jack is fun. But
yes,
Mike Jack is fun, but it takes you a while to get the results you want from Mike Jack.
Yeah.
Mike Jack's an investment in time.
Uh,
Yeah.
but but no, it's one of those. It's like any other social media thing. It is.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's interesting. You can do business with it and everything, but you can get sucked in
Yes.
and spend a lot of your day there. But do you have any of your? Because are you selling any of your artwork, or you just bring it to conventions to kind of show people who the characters are?
Yeah. So I've started doing prints to sell at conventions as well. So got prints for this fine crew, the core four casts, and so we got one human and three other very different aliens, where I sort of did their headshots, and this was something that I did for the book 3 launch for the Seed in the Sky launch for this fine crew, because for a while I just done concepts for the species in general. And the bird is nibbling at my ear. I'm not sure if that looks weird in the thing, but yeah.
It
Um,
seems very flirtatious.
moving you to the other side, Lou. Eventually, I'm gonna, want to use that here. Okay. And then I've got prints from the upcoming Murder Birds anthology. Actually, I'm going to take a moment to segue on that because next week, so yeah, a week from today, I did not plan for all these to line up at around the same times, but it's kind of cool when they did. So Murder Birds is launching a week from today. So the pre-order link is available, and this is an illustrated anthology. So there's 20 stories, all having to do with birds and intent to kill. And so some of the prints that I've been bringing to these have been. Hang on, I'm going to grab the one that is usually easiest to show for camera. Some of these prints have been on display at recent conventions and also available for sale. So yeah,
All
that's
right,
going to be one of those in the giveaway today.
all right. And I'm gonna put that link in the chat for people who want to go buy that book, and also for those who may not have noticed that the very first comment in the chats is the link to go buy his brand new book that came out today. Uh, where's my yes, this fine book here. That's not
Yep.
the right link for that. Let's get rid of that. Uh, anyway, so yeah, so go check that out, everybody. And here I'm pushing wrong buttons again. All right.
You good, yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into the reading. We're at the almost the 45-minute mark. So what I'll do is I'll let you do the reading. I'm gonna go off screen, let you have center stage,
Okay.
and you take as much time as you want. And then when you're done, just say I'm done, and I'll come back.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Floor is yours.
Cool. All right. So this is from Defenders Rise. This is earlier chapter, so don't expect any large spoilers in here. A little bit from the villains because they're always fun to start the books with. The first claw of Haven might have been mistaken by the untrained eye as yet another guard or even worker. His claws were far from clean and polished, his fangs no more whitened or sharpened than any other Pushtal. His suit bore no grime from that day's work, but would not be out of place as a workman's outfit. Sleeveless and form-fitting but stretchable, around the torso flaring into a pocketed kilt at the hips and the thighs, leading to pants that were loose enough to allow for any measure of bipedal or quadrupedal movement. What set the first claw apart was his countenance. Under a stern forehead and brows sat impressively large lower jaw that alone could intimidate much larger species. His shoulders and upper arms boasted more muscle than Nalpac's, or the South Quarter Foreman's, and the sinews on the forearms stood out even when relaxed, suggesting that the now retracted claws could extend to terrifyingly long and sharp weapons. "Let us begin," he said. "What about the West Foreman?" Nalpac blurted, and instantly regretted it, for none of the others had asked, either because they already knew or understood that it was irrelevant. The first claw must have been feeling magnanimous, for he did not turn on the youngest foreman in anger. He only said, "Dealing with insubordination. She will turn in her ledger later." Beckoned by an upturned hand, the three foremen available transferred their ledgers to the central computer, where fellow Pushtal and the more digitally savvy insectoids, Slisha, began downloading and collating the data. The foreman dutifully waited for remarks, but before any of the screens had been turned toward the first claw, he said, Nalpak. Nalpak did not move, did not show his tension. I understand you almost lost a lucrative find today. The salvage was precarious, Nalpak said. He quickly added, despite the structural collapse, we preserved the central computers. The data looks very promising. The first claw didn't exactly smile, but showed some satisfaction. Your report listed a recovery agent, a name I do not know. It was an El Shah, named Rev. Nalpak realized one of his aides may have used the nickname. Everyone in the North Quarter calls him Tiny. The South Quarter foreman guffawed. I treat my laborers as laborers, not as pets. This El Shah is an asset, Nalpak said. Better than any in your employ, I'm sure. Now Nalpak's show of fangs was a less friendly challenge. The first claw might otherwise be entertained by their fighting, to submission, to humiliation, or to first blood rather than to the death, but he pressed on with business, his volume climbing as he regained control of the conversation. Your report also says that, unauthorized, this worker used a weapon on mill grounds. Nalpak gritted his teeth, but only hesitated a moment. He responded appropriately, using a tool at hand. We are fortunate he did so, or else the computers would have purged their data. Onok, the South foreman, spat out a word that best translated to bullshit. You have too loose a hold on them, and in your weakness, you justify their stealing weapons. Nalpak kept his eyes on the first claw. At great risk, the El Shah crawled into a collapsing structure with an active alarm. Nalpak held himself back from being seen as animated and agitated on the tiny lizard's behalf. Too much sympathy could appear as weakness, even when responding to a challenge. I ordered him to disable the alarm and save the internal systems at all costs. This was close enough to true, difficult to dispute, and Salar would back him up. He used the sidearm from the captain's chair to disrupt the direct line to the trigger mechanism. This Nalpak only knew from retrospective analysis. Even then, he didn't fully understand it himself. The point is, the salvage was successful, and the El Shah left the sidearm where he found it during his escape. You are saying you recovered the weapon? The Kashkala foreman asked, speaking for the first time and using the Pushtal language. Technically, some other small creature had done so and brought it to Salar, who then handed it to Nalpak, none of which was reported. Yes. The Kashkala said something with her tail ripples, nonverbal badger speak Nalpak had never bothered to learn, then said, Acceptable. Salvage workers have to handle weapons all the time. Sometimes they are discharged. She did not elaborate, possibly because anything she said could put her in the unfortunate spotlight. Nalpak appreciated the support, nonetheless. Possibly because Nalpak had ignored him, the South Quarter foreman likewise addressed only the First Claw. Honorable First Claw, this was unauthorized use. That our northern brother desperately justifies it afterwards does not excuse him for his lack of control over his section. The First Claw furrowed his brow. Do you have another suggestion, foreman? His second, the clever Salar, is less given to rash temperament and poor judgment. You skinned Charval. There it is. Nalpak snarled, but before he could engage the other in combat, the First Claw silenced them with a wave of his fingers. Onok is correct. Unauthorized use of weapons by workers on either mill grounds or in our surrounding residential ring is against the rules and is punishable. The First Claw did not give Onok a chance to gloat, unless that worker is authorized as a foreman's aide. Nalpak had been too distracted by the prospect of tearing into Onok that he had not anticipated where the First Claw was leading. Is this El Shah of value? Yes, Honorable First Claw. And has he showed enough sound judgment and loyalty that you could name him an aide, if not a supervisor? Yes, Nalpak said. He didn't need to show favoritism, nor any kind of soft spot or weak point for the lizard, only practical business acumen. After all, if the Pushtal were to elevate themselves once again and reclaim their status in the galaxy, they needed to demonstrate their business acumen as well as their prowess in combat. And I'll pause there.
And I'm back. All right. So you sure you're not looking to do narrating? Because that was pretty good. That was one take.
That was one take.
That was one take. That was pretty good. So,
I like reading stories out loud. I don't really know the technical side of when people do like I guess the audio editing. So like if I could do the raw audio and send it to somebody and they handle it the rest of the way, I'd be into that. But it's kind of a question of what makes the most sense time wise.
I'm sure there's there's groups that do that. There has to be, where you're the talent and you do all the voiceover and somebody else does the editing and stuff like that. Because I think you would. I don't know if it's your theater background or you're just naturally good at it, but I think you got a good voice for it. So
Thank you. Oh,
and
I like reading stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, look into it. It might be a career for you. Anyway, um, no, that was great. And I like you picked the one where you actually reference the
The Charball.
derogatory term. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Oh, and one thing that I forgot to mention, and thank you, Marisa, for bringing this up, is your brand new best-selling book today.
Whoop.
You got the famed orange tag, so
Yeah.
congratulations, good
Thank you.
job, and especially for your first book in a series you haven't written in before. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Um, so typically this would be the time that we do the giveaway. And so, do you want to choose the winners, or do you want me to choose the winners?
I will let you go ahead and do that.
Okay,
I
since
have
you
not
probably
been super actively monitoring the chat, but
no, that's fine. So, and no, Marisa, you're not gonna win because you live in a trailer and we don't have room for that stuff. Anyway, uh, my we're gonna go with Miss Cox because she's had some good comments. She's very supportive of the show, and we're gonna go ahead and give her. I'm gonna let you choose, Charlene, what book you want. What were the choices?
so yeah, it would either be a copy of Defender's Rise, so the new 4HU novel, or a copy of Murder Birds, the upcoming avian anthology.
All right, Charlene, let us know which one you want because the next person is gonna be the gonna get the other book. So, with that being said, so while we wait on Charlene's response, I'm gonna go with. Oh, where are you, Drew? Drew Avery. How do you say that last name?
Isn't it just Avery?
Avery or Vara?
Oh, I
Anyway,
thought it was Avery, like pronounced like yeah.
all
But
right.
but I
Well,
mean, this is from like one interaction, and I was
yeah.
like, I retained it as Avery instead of Avra, so I probably shouldn't say that if I'm saying it totally wrong. But Drew can let me know.
All
Um,
right. So she already has Defenders Riser, so Murder Birds.
excellent.
So if what's the best way for her to contact you to give her her information and all that? What?
Yeah. So the easiest email to reach me is mikejackwrites@gmail.com. Or if you don't have that one, then I'm sure through people in the CKP crowd and Jeremy, you can get connected with me.
Yeah, and
Um,
Facebook Messenger, all that good stuff.
there are options. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So and then that means Drew, you're gonna get Defenders Rise. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So uh, what's next for you, Mike? Are you besides I know you're working on number 5
Mhm.
in this 5 crew. Uh, are there some projects that you find interesting that you want to start working on, or stuff that you already know you're gonna do?
Yeah. I mean, some of this depends on being able to look back at this month and seeing how different projects did. So between Defenders Rise, first foray into the 4HU, a new anthology coming out and having that premiere at RavenCon, and then working on another anthology. So we're right now doing selection readings for the next one in this anthology series. So Murder Birds is the first of the Unhelpful Encyclopedia anthology. So they're illustrated anthologies, all of which have to do with different type of bird and intent to kill. We're doing Murder Bugs next. So we're taking submissions at the moment for that
Awesome.
through a couple of groups, and so depending on how well things do in different environments this month, might veer a different project closer to the front of the queue. So yeah, so I'm working on the fifth. I'm gonna hold the bird. She keeps doing the ear thing. I'm gonna hold her this time. Yeah. So I'm working on the fifth in this fine crew. I've got a couple of short stories that I'm working on for some different projects, including an upcoming 4HU anthology, and that one I'm hoping to like just be able to give myself a couple days off, get back to the editing, and be like, cool, I know what I need to do to change this and make it right. And then there's actually, I'm not sure which of these anthologies I can talk about at the moment. I don't know which ones are like signed or publicly. So there's another CKP anthology in the nearish future that I have a story in. It's coming out. So yeah, there are a few anthologies releases on the near future horizon. This coming Monday, Hidden Villains Rise from Inked Publishing launches. We've got a story in that one. I just finished the page proofs for Dragon-esque from Zombies Need Brains. That one's coming out this summer. So stories from point of view of dragons. Yeah, so working with a couple different groups on those ones, and then we've got the Kickstarter that we're going to be doing for 2 upcoming anthologies, Murder Bugs, and the first in a new anthology series called the Monstrous Guidebook series, and we're doing the Kickstarter for that this fall. So those are some of the pieces that are already in motion. In terms of what's next after that, it's a little bit hard to tell. There are a lot of things that I know I want to write, but I'm not sure which one's going to take the front burner priority.
Okay. So I think you mentioned this before. What if you were gonna throw your hat into the ring and now you're already in 4HU, which is the biggest universe at CKP. But we have a bunch of universes there, and so like I said, I think you mentioned this before. But if you were gonna throw your hat in the ring and say, "Wink, wink," hey, I want to write in your universe, what would that be?
I think it would be great to pair up with somebody and either continue doing some stuff in the 4HU or to dive into salvage, doing a teamed up salvage trilogy. That sounds really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are a couple of things that are still in sort of like the pre-announcement stage that I've heard about from people. I'm like, I want to read some of the books as they're getting done before you launch the first one and see if like this is a universe to jump into as well. So there's some things that I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of there and seeing if it's like if this will be a fun place to play in. But yeah, my guess is salvage or 4HU. To continue in the CKP and then continuing with this fine crew as well.
Come to Sandwich. We have cookies. Where are the cookies? I haven't had cookies. Where are the cookies?
Cookies are a lie.
Yes.
We'll write an end song that is not at all like the copywritten, Cake is a Lie version.
Oh, that's what I meant to ask you. Is there any singing in Defender's Rise? Did you incorporate that in any spots?
There is not.
Oh, okay.
There is no singing in that one. I'm sure there are some soundtracks that people could associate with it, but no, there is no singing. The fifth book of this fine crew does have a lot of reference to singing in some form. It is called the Forever Song. So, you get a little bit of that in there. Yeah.
Yes, Melissa, you are a liar because I have had no cookies, so shut it.
You just need to show up to the right conventions.
I guess.
There must be plenty of cookies at the other conventions that you weren't at.
Oh, man. Because I love cookies. Anyway, so is there anything else that you want to promote, before we shut it down? Is there anything you want to promote or, let people know about?
Yeah, I mean, the big ones are the book that released today, so Defender's Rise. Yeah, if you know people who like military science fiction and Alien Revolutions, Alien Uprising, Motley Crue's Found Families, yeah, please share that among folks who've seen it. It is a long series, but there are a lot of different entry points. So there are a lot of things people can check out whether or not they've read the whole thing leading up to it. And then otherwise, the pre-order link for Murder Birds is available. We are officially launching that on April 21st. Technically, the physical version is already available to order, but the ebook officially launches on the 21st and is going to have the launch event at RavenCon. So RavenCon this coming weekend, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So if you happen to see this and are vaguely in the Richmond, Virginia area, or on a lark decide to drive across the country, that's up to you. Then yeah, there's RavenCon going on. And then looking further ahead, I will continue to post updates on my website or through my newsletter, and you can find that at mikejackstoumbos.com or by joining the newsletter, so you don't need to continually remember how to spell my last name. That's one of the nice joys there.
Well, just in case, here it is.
Yeah. And then otherwise, periodic updates, through the Facebook page, the Twitter page, and the YouTube page, all of which are available. Yeah, I think that covers it for the things that I really want to mention. Actually, I'll mention one more time. Upcoming Kickstarter this fall. We will be launching. I think our opening date is September 8th, but like I don't need to remember that off the top of my head. Neither do you, because once again, we're going to set it up as a pre-link where people can click on it and just get a notification when it goes live, and that's for the next 2 anthologies as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So people who don't know where to find this, what's the easiest way to find it?
Oh, I will be posting it through any of those channels and sharing it through my newsletter. The best way to keep track of stuff is to join the newsletter, and then when you join it, to actually click the thing that says click the confirmation stuff, because apparently mailer services are getting more and more persnickety on whether or not they're willing to send to people who haven't double triple confirmed. So yeah, it sounds silly to say, but if you want to join a newsletter, then go ahead and click through the confirmation stuff so that you can make sure you get whatever kind of free story is offered, and then stay on the active list. Otherwise, the newsletter is nope, we can't send to you anymore. That one's been weird.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, because we've noticed that with Maurice's newsletter. It's just as far as active subscribers and all that stuff. So take that to heart, people. If you want to keep on getting newsletters and information, make sure you click all the buttons.
Yep.
And I'll say this. I say it every episode. Sign up for the newsletter. It's a great way for your favorite authors. It's a great way to keep up with them, because if you're counting on Facebook, you might miss something because the algorithm's wonky and it might not come to you. So make sure you sign up for their newsletters for your favorite authors, for CKP, so you can get the latest news and you get free stuff. So it's fun.
Yeah.
What is this? Persnickety is now the word of the day. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And if we want to be really persnickety, we could start saying it as pernickety instead, because apparently that's the original Scottish. If we want to be pernickety about pronouncing pernickety, then
So other than the convention on the 21st, which is RavenCon, is that?
RavenCon, yep.
RavenCon. Where else in the wild can people see you?
So I'm definitely going to be at AwesomeCon in DC in June. And then I'll also be at DragonCon right on the cusp of August and September. So first weekend of
Memorial Day weekend.
Those are the definite ones for this year. There are a couple others that are still in the on the fence side of things. But yeah, those are the definite ones for this year. There are some online ones that I'll probably be teaching at, and I'm looking to do more teachings and workshops and progressive series through groups like Superstars Writing Seminars and Apex Writers Group. So you're doing more of those as well.
So, sounds like you're a very busy man. People sign up for his newsletter so you can keep up with him. He's got a lot going on, and good luck on the anthologies. I hope you get into the anthologies you want to get into. And we look forward to book number 5 of This Fine Crew, which if you want to come back on the show and promote that, you are welcome. And hopefully we'll see you in more 4HU and maybe some salvage title. So everybody cross your fingers for him. Hopefully he'll get the call. Before we leave, we're gonna promote a few things myself. On the CKP YouTube channel, we also have the Future Books podcast hosted by Randall Willis and brought to you by Shark Flight Media, our good buddy Ian Malone. that comes out about once a month. The March episode, no, the April episode is out, and so you should be seeing another one in another couple weeks. So if you want to know what's new and fantastic and coming out at CKP, join that one, and you can find that on the CKP YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, anywhere where you find podcasts. It is a audio only podcast, so if you want to catch it on one of those, and let's see, some shameless plugs here. Let's see, who's this? Pre-order? Nope, that's you. Sorry, gotta find my buttons here. All right. Some associated YouTube channels, of course, Marisa Wolf, author. She's going to be putting out some new content, hopefully pretty soon. Of course, Casey Ezel, Writer Life. She just put out an episode with Tony Weiskopf from Bain Books. Go check that out. She also had another one, a how-to video before that. Go check her out. World Maker Books. They're doing audio version or audio episodes of some of Mark Wandry's older books. And of course, one last time, go check out Mike Jack on his website and pre-order the Murder Birds. And if you haven't bought it yet, and what's wrong with you? Why haven't you bought it? Go buy Defenders Rise. And Mike, they can just go straight into this. They don't have to necessarily read all the other books, right?
Yep.
So look, I'm not giving you homework. I'm giving you one book. Go read the book. It sounds awesome. And Mike, you should start doing audio.
The link looks like it's Defenders Rise 4. I can tell you this is the first book of this series. The 4 is for Four Horsemen.
Right.
It's just in case, so that it's not intimidating. Yeah.
Yes, it's the only one. But hopefully we'll see more of you in the 4HU. But I know we'll see more of you at CKP because it seems like your series, This Fine Crew, is doing well. So congratulations on that. And I would say welcome to the family, but you've been here a while. So
I've been here a bit. Yeah. No, I appreciate the welcomes though. It's always nice.
Yeah. But thanks again for coming on. And like I said, anytime you want to come on, you're welcome. Whether it's to promote this or just to talk about projects you might be working on, I'd be happy to have you. And congratulations on the book, and congratulations for the orange sticker. Good job. And so we'll see you next time. And to those in the audience, thank you for joining. Support the show by liking and subscribing, and we'll catch you all next time.